it, fam. Let's get to it. Jesus said one of the coldest things I ever heard. He was talking to a crowd of people, and while he was in the midst of teaching these people, his mother and his brother show up. And some people come to him and say, "Hey, Jesus, your mother and brother's here." And everybody fully expecting that Jesus is getting ready to stop what he's doing and start addressing whatever it is that his mother and his brother were there to speak to him about. Jesus turns to the crowd and says, "Who is my mother and my brother?" These people who are here in front of me, that's my mother and my brother. The ones that are doing the will of the Father, that's my mother and my brother. Now, why did he say this? He wasn't saying that to put his mother and brother on blast. He was saying that because he stands by the ones who are doing the will of the Father, not just standing by the people who are his family or the people that are closest to him. Why do I bring that up? Why is that so important? I'm glad you asked. Part of the reason why our society is in the way that it is right now is because the moment we declare my people, I don't care who you are, what direction you're going in, whether if you black is my people, if you white is my people, if you Democrats is my people, if you Republicans is my people, liberals, conservatives, whatever you have identified yourself as, and you consider that to be your people. One of the greatest detriments of our society right now, we refuse to hold our people accountable. See, we'll look at the other people and tell the other people with all the passion in the world, you wrong and you doing this and you doing that. But when it comes to your people, now you making excuses. I say this often. Genesis, the 12th chapter, God tells Abraham, I'm getting ready to make a great nation out of you. I'm getting ready to do something drastically different. But I want you to do one thing. I want you to leave behind all of your identities in order to become what it is I want you to become. I want you to let go of your national identity. I want you to let go of your ethnical and tribal identity. I want you to let go of your family identity. Because if you hold on to those things, what you will find yourself doing is making justifications for why your family is doing what it's doing or your group is doing what it's doing instead of standing up to them when they're wrong. See, right now we find ourselves willing to call everybody else out for everything that we think is wrong and what they're doing. But then when it comes to our people, we silent. We make excuses for it. I don't care who your people are, you silent. You make excuses for it. Or if you do talk about it, you say it in kind of a passive. It's not, you don't say it with you don't put your chest in it. You don't say it with your chest when you're talking about your people. Jesus said, when it comes to the will of the Father, I don't care who's speaking against it. I'm not standing with them. I'm not standing with my mother and my brother if my mother and my brother are standing in the way of doing God's business. I'm not standing with my cousins or my best friends or black people or white people or liberals and conservatives if they against the will of the Father. But see, the problem with the equation is we will start trying to make our people and the things that our people are doing, we'll try to justify fighting for them in the name of the Father. But they're clearly doing things that are against the Father. And on that, we find ourselves quiet. It's hard being righteous. I know that I'm not trying to stand here on no soapbox and tell you that I'm holier than thou, or I'm not. I'm not. I'm a struggling person just like everybody else is. But a long time ago, I realized, and I was watching people do things that I'm going to be honest with you, it didn't sit right with me. So I understood that if I continue down this path, I might find myself in a position to where I'm going to have to stand by somebody that's doing something faulty. But that's not what I do. That's not what I want to do. That's not how I want to live my life. So I understood inevitably, if I don't want to live like that, then I have to separate myself from those people. It's not whether or not I think those people are good or bad people. I just don't want to live like that. So I have to separate myself from those people. See, we have been fed this ideology that once somebody has been identified as your people, you have to stand with them whether they right or wrong. That's not true. The best thing you can do for your people is to hold your people accountable. Hold your people to the fire. When your people do something that's out of line, don't cover it up and make excuses for it. Hold them accountable. Because the longer you sit there justifying their bad behavior, the more comfortable they'll be with making bad decisions and doing bad things. If you want them to change and you want situations to be better, hold your people accountable. I know that's a tough sell because it's hard to be on the outside when your people are over here and everybody is made up in their mind that this is the way we're going to live. And then here you come along telling somebody they wrong for living that way. But you're not doing them any favors by justifying their behavior. You're not doing them any favors by telling them you understand why it is. Listen, even if I do understand, I still have a right to tell you you're wrong. Me and my brother was having this conversation, and we had said that one of the greatest detriments of parents is that when we find our kids doing something that we know is wrong, we find ourselves not willing to call them out on it being wrong because we ourselves did that when we was kids. So we think we would be hypocrites to tell them they're wrong. No, you're not. You're smart because you realize that when you did it, it was a mistake. You can't feel like just because you made a mistake, now you're no longer able to correct your children and tell your children the difference between what they should do and what they shouldn't do. When you have children, that you can teach your children the mistakes that you made and how to keep them from making those same mistakes. But that's accountability. And we hate to be held accountable now. I don't know at what point in the world we got to this place to where we think it's wrong to hold people accountable. The best thing you can do for a person is to hold a person accountable. And it starts with yourself. See, I know for a fact there are certain things that I don't want to put myself in a situation, so I don't do those things. And because that's the case, then I hold you to that same standard when you're around me. If I see you doing something that is detriment to myself and my family, I'm not going to let you continue to do that around me just because you my people. If we really want to see change and we really want things better, you have to be willing to care more about right than you do your people. You have to be willing to stand up for righteousness. Even if you know that your people are trying to do something that you think might be justified for why they doing it, if what they doing is wrong, you still have to call them wrong. That's what Jesus meant when he said, "Who is my mother and my brother?" It wasn't that he was putting his mother and brother on blast. He actually loved his mother, loved his brother. But he understood that if I find myself in a situation where my mother and my brother are doing something that I know to be wrong, I'm not going to side with them just because they my mother or my brother. If I'm standing beside a person who I don't even know and they doing more right and doing things more in line with the way things are supposed to be done in the will of the Father, then I'm not getting ready to stand with my mother and brother if they against this person. That's a tough one. And it's because that difficult decision we have to make is the reason why our society is in the situation that it is, because we refuse. We have a hard time telling our own people, "You wrong." So you'll find yourself standing with somebody doing wrong because they're your people and against somebody who's even doing what's in your best interest because they're not your people. Jesus said, "My mother and my brother are the ones who are doing the will of the Father." If you call yourself wanting better in life and you want to live in a better situation, you want to live in a better environment, you want to live in a better community, then you have to hold people to a better standard. You have to hold your people to a better standard. All right, y'all. That's my 2 cents on the 2-piece. Y'all be blessed.
Now you're locked in.